Hello guys, I'm Tom, and today we'll explore what Pyramid Head is. Pyramid Head is a very chilling monster and the most famous and iconic one from the Silent Hill video game series. This monster first appears in the second game of this epic franchise. Although it has made other appearances throughout the series, these are not considered fully canonical, as it was established in the second game that Pyramid Head is the physical manifestation of the guilt and desire for punishment of the protagonist James Sunderland, and it functions as his personal executioner. In any case, this monster is one of the most famous and iconic in video games. It has a very dark, interesting, and complex history and background, which I will cover in full in this video. I'll reference official materials published by Konami during the development of the games, when the legendary Team Silent was still active. Additionally, I will include comments from the creator Masahiro Ito and Team Silent regarding the topic. Well, without further ado, let's begin. Before diving into the full explanation, I want to warn you that this video contains spoilers from both the original game and the remake. If you haven't finished it yet, I recommend you play it first and then come back to this video. Now, let's get started. One of the most terrifying, memorable, iconic, and amazing monsters we've seen in the world of video games is Pyramid Head. This creature was introduced in the second Silent Hill game. However, it also appears in the sequels as a kind of cameo, which most fans do not consider canonical. This being serves as one of the main antagonists in the epic Silent Hill video game series, playing a crucial role in the second game. Pyramid Head represents the personification of the guilt and desire for punishment of James Sunderland for the death of his wife, Mary. James killed her, partly because he felt pity seeing her suffer, and partly due to his frustration with her. Before thoroughly analyzing Pyramid Head, I want to briefly cover its history as shown in the second Silent Hill game. I will also talk about its appearances in the sequels and then explain in detail what this creature truly represents. It's important to mention that in the book Lost Memories, it is stated as follows about Pyramid Head. He takes the form of an executioner, a hangman from past times, but in reality, he is an incarnation of James Sunderland's conscience, who feels he deserves to be punished. The town of Silent Hill has the power to give discernible form to an individual's deepest thoughts that lie in their subconscious. This is why we can conclude that Pyramid Head is the personification of a part of James Sunderland's mind. Pyramid Head is found by James Sunderland inside the Woodside Apartments. While James explores this place, he hears a terrifying scream. When investigating its origin, he encounters this being, which emits a very threatening red aura, causing James to be greatly frightened. Fortunately, the creature is behind some metal bars and cannot attack him directly. Something very interesting to note is that Pyramid Head does not react to James's presence and just stands still, watching him. Initially, it seems that the presence of this entity causes James's radio to emit static. However, we can conclude that the static was triggered by the television in room 208, because in later encounters with this creature, no more static is heard, as is the case with most of the monsters in the Silent Hill universe. Later in the game, James encounters Pyramid Head again in room 307, where it seems to be engaging in a sexual act with two mannequin-like monsters. Pyramid Head abandons these creatures, who die quickly. It then drags one of the mannequins toward James, who is hiding in a closet, greatly frightened. The protagonist, in fear, shoots at it with his gun, feeling that this creature could kill him. Surprisingly, Pyramid Head screams in a very particular way and then leaves the area, leaving James inside the closet. Later in the basement of the Blue Creek Apartments, James encounters this entity once again, now carrying its iconic sword, resembling a giant knife. Here, the monster is abusing another creature, which it quickly abandons upon detecting James's presence. The monster attacks James in a somewhat aggressive manner. However, it moves slowly, allowing James to evade its attacks. Eventually, a very loud siren sounds, and Pyramid Head leaves the area, opening a door that James also uses to escape. Later in the game, this being reappears on the roof of the Brookhaven Hospital and, incredibly, throws James off the roof through a weakened metal fence. Below the hospital are some tunnels, and it is here that Pyramid Head is found again by James and Maria. On this occasion, the creature no longer carries its giant knife, but instead wields a spear, which it uses to attack its victims. James manages to reach the elevator. However, Maria isn't so lucky and is impaled by the creature's spear. When James enters the Silent Hill Historical Society Museum, he finds a macabre painting of Pyramid Head with many of its victims trapped in metal cages. It's implied that this painting appears in this place because it is a physical manifestation of James's subconscious, who sees his executioner in this image. This is why, upon seeing it, he mutters fearfully, "It's him." Later in the game, inside the Toluca Lake prison, the protagonist encounters Pyramid Head again in the maze beneath the prison. Although it can attack James and comes very close, it actually doesn't pursue him, allowing James to escape relatively easily from the entity. Pyramid Head's final appearance occurs in the Lakeview Hotel, where two of these beings kill Maria again and James is unable to prevent it. After a brief and brutal fight and after taking enough damage, both Pyramid Heads end their own lives by impaling themselves with their spears. This happens because James finally accepts responsibility for his wife's death and comes to terms with his guilt. Having internalized this feeling, he no longer needs his punisher, which explains why Pyramid Head dies and no longer attacks or pursues him for the remainder of the game. This is where Pyramid Head's story ends in Silent Hill 2. Although this is its only appearance considered canonical by most fans, the creature makes appearances in other games in the franchise. In Silent Hill Origins, Travis Grady encounters a painting of this terrifying monster holding a spear in each hand inside the Gillespie house as it catches fire. In Silent Hill Homecoming, Pyramid Head, known here as the Boogeyman, plays an important role in the plot. It's implied that this being is the physical manifestation of Adam Shepard's guilt for failing to honor the pact he made with the ancient god of Silent Hill, which condemned the town of Shepherd's Glen. Initially, it is suggested that it's the Boogeyman who attacks and kills the doctor who leads Alex to a room in his nightmare at the hospital. Also, when Alex tries to leave the hospital in an elevator, it's Pyramid Head who stops him and almost kills him with his giant knife. In the game, Pyramid Head appears twice. First, Alex finds him in the Grand Hotel in Silent Hill, where the creature hides behind some rubble and watches as it drags its enormous knife. The monster is accompanied by a swarm of small insects. At one point, it turns to look at Alex but doesn't harm him and continues on its way. Later, in the Holloway Church, the Boogeyman appears one last time when it executes Adam Shepard, splitting him in half in front of his son Alex. It then simply leaves without harming Alex. In addition to these appearances, this being has a brief role in the joke ending of the game Silent Hill, Downpour. It also plays an important role in the live-action films Silent Hill and Silent Hill Revelation. Now that we've thoroughly covered the story and origins of Pyramid Head in the Silent Hill games, I want to talk about its physical appearance, its different abilities, and what this monster symbolizes in Silent Hill 2, as well as the reason it takes such a terrifying and iconic form for James Sunderland. Pyramid Head appears as a very tall and muscular man, wearing an ancient white robe that resembles that of an executioner. This robe is stained with blood and aged, giving it a yellowish or brownish color. He generally drags a gigantic knife or a huge sword, which he uses as his main weapon. Although on some occasions, he carries a large spear. His most memorable physical feature is the enormous triangular helmet that completely covers his head and appears to be very rusty. Due to the shape of his head, this creature is named Pyramid Head. The monster has the appearance of a pale man and cannot speak. He only emits grunts and characteristic sounds that can be heard from within his helmet. According to Masahiro Ito, who designed the monster for the second game, he wanted to create a humanoid being that didn't look too human. The initial designs didn't appeal to him because the monsters just looked like men with a strange and simple mask. For this reason, he was inspired by some drawings he made in 1995 while he was a university student. These designs depicted a mechanical being with a triangular and geometric head, inspired by German tanks from World War II. He incorporated this concept into the final design of Pyramid Head. Additionally, the monster's attire and humanoid form are inspired by the appearance of Valtiel, one of the most powerful entities worshipped by the Order of Silent Hill. According to them, Valtiel is the angel closest to their god and is depicted as a large humanoid figure wearing an executioner's robe, along with an apron and gloves. Also, his face is covered and not visible. Pyramid Head is a very powerful creature with incredible supernatural abilities, making him an almost invincible threat. First, he is an immortal being who cannot die through conventional methods such as gunfire or physical attacks. These attacks seem to do no real damage and only slow him down while he pursues or attacks his victims. He also possesses superhuman strength, which he uses to brutally kill his victims, either with his hands or with his weapons. One of his most interesting abilities is a form of clairvoyance that allows him to know where James Sunderland is in the town of Silent Hill. This explains why he appears in different places to guide James to where he needs to go. His only weaknesses are his slowness, which allows his victims to momentarily escape, and the fact that his existence depends on James's guilt. When James accepts his responsibility for the death of his wife, Mary, Pyramid Head is no longer needed, and that's why he disappears. Although the directors at Konami reused Pyramid Head in the sequels to the original games as a demon or monster that punishes those who enter Silent Hill, his only canonical appearance is in the second game. This is because, as mentioned earlier, this being symbolizes James's subconscious desire to be punished for killing Mary, as well as the physical manifestation of the guilt he feels for committing that terrible act. The reason Pyramid Head kills Maria repeatedly throughout the game is to remind James that it was he who killed Mary. Through these deaths, James experiences suffering and pain, forcing him to face the truth. Initially, James is in complete denial and believes his wife died from a terminal illness with no involvement from him. However, when Maria dies for the third time, James finally accepts what he did. For this reason, the two Pyramid Heads commit suicide, as they have fulfilled their purpose of making James confront the truth. Pyramid Head also symbolizes the darker aspects of James's personality and certain wild and instinctual desires. That's why, throughout the game, the monster commits brutal and immoral acts, such as constant murders. His sexual abuse of other monsters symbolizes the sexual frustration James felt due to Mary's illness, which prevented him from being intimate with her again. It is believed that when James and Mary visited Silent Hill on vacation in the past, without any supernatural influence, they observed the photograph titled The Scarlet and White Banquet at the Silent Hill Historical Society. It is likely that this image became imprinted in James's subconscious. The photograph shows two executioners from the Valtiel sect wearing white robes in honor of the supposed angel. One of them wears a cloth mask resembling Pyramid Head's head. Therefore, we can conclude that James visualizes Pyramid Head by combining his desire to be punished with this latent memory. The result is the executioner monster he faces in the game. Finally, in the book Lost Memories, it is explained on page 77 that the creators of Team Silent based the workings of Silent Hills on the psychoanalytic theories of Sigmund Freud and Carl Jung. According to these theories, Pyramid Head reflects the id of James Sunderland. Freud proposed that the human psyche has three components: the id, the ego, and the superego. The id represents the hedonistic part, seeking instant gratification. The superego is the moral component of our conscience, seeking constant improvement and good. The ego is the balance between the two. This is why we can say that Pyramid Head represents, in fact, the worst part of James's subconscious and those wild desires for violence due to the frustration he felt because of the tragedy he and his wife Mary went through when she fell ill. It also represents those repressed desires for sexual gratification that James felt but could not fulfill with his wife because she was so sick. We can also say that it represents the guilt James felt for killing his wife. This is why Pyramid Head guides James through the town and, on several occasions, almost kills him, because this is the same guilt that torments him and that he tries to eliminate once he accepts his guilt. This is also why this monster dies, further solidifying the theory that this being is indeed the personification of James Sunderland's id, reflected in Silent Hill as that blood-soaked monster with a rusted pyramid-shaped helmet on his head. Because, as the book Lost Memories tells us, the way a person sees the town depends greatly on the darkness present in their heart. If we take into account what I mentioned earlier, that James had already visited Silent Hill in the past and saw the photograph of the Valtiel sect, it makes sense that he would associate that image with the idea of the evil present in the town. This is why, when he enters Silent Hill during the events of the game and encounters Pyramid Head, he appears as a powerful and chilling executioner. According to the creator of the second game and designer of this monster, Masahiro Ito, the second Pyramid Head, which appears near the end of the game, represents the guilt James feels for the deaths of Maria. Additionally, according to Ito, only James can see Pyramid Head, as this being functions as an executioner and guard of James, who wants to punish him but at the same time guide him to face the truth and accept that he killed his sick wife. An interesting fact is that this designer mentioned that, although he never designed a real head for the creature, it is likely that it does have one. According to Ito, Pyramid Head's head is humanoid and covered in bandages, very similar to Valtiel's head. While some versions of Pyramid Head have a fleshy and grotesque substance inside his helmet, resembling a tumor attached to the helmet, this is not canonical in the games. There is also the intriguing theory that implies the real head of Pyramid Head is the head of the person being punished. In the case of the second game, it would be James's head, and in Silent Hill, Homecoming, it would be Adam Shepard's head. When Team Silent was asked about this, Ito commented that it was better to leave that detail ambiguous and to the imagination of the audience. And well, this is everything we know about Pyramid Head from Silent Hill. Honestly, I believe Pyramid Head is one of the most interesting and complex monsters in the world of video games, as his physical appearance, behavior, and role in the game are highly symbolic, which lends itself to much interpretation by the audience. I have always seen him as James Sunderland's personal executioner, although I really liked seeing him again in the other games, like The Boogeyman, and in the live-action films, as he has always seemed like a very terrifying and cool character. His design has always fascinated me because it is mysterious, strange, and somewhat chilling, especially since his mere presence provokes a certain fear that cannot be easily expressed, primarily because of how imposing he looks. This is why I think Pyramid Head is the most complex and terrifying monster in Silent Hill. But let me know your opinion in the comments below. Did you already know about Pyramid Head from the Silent Hill saga? Were you familiar with his complete story and origins, considering the comments from Team Silent and his role in the second game? What trait of this monster do you find the most terrifying and why? Would you like me to explain the Pyramid Head from the movies? Or would you rather not see that? And finally, how do you personally see Pyramid Head? Do you see him as an entity that punishes those who enter the town of Silent Hill? Or do you see him in the more canonical form, as the personal manifestation and executioner of James Sunderland? Comment below with your answers to these questions and your overall opinion about Pyramid Head from the epic Silent Hill video game universe. As always, thank you so much for watching this video. I truly appreciate it. If you liked it, please give it a like and share it to support the channel, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of my new videos.